All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Monday, April 15th, 2019. Of course, you see me wearing the number 42 jersey of Jackie Robinson. Today is Jackie Robinson Day in all of Major League Baseball. Every player playing today will be wearing number 42 in honor of the first African-American to break into Major League Baseball. I will explain to all of you why we need to change our language related to Jackie Robinson when it comes to Major League Baseball and how we should not be denigrating the Negro League. Wait until I explain that on today's show. Also, folks, looking forward to 2020 campaign. Donald Trump brings out the hated anti-Muslim playbook and bashes the freshman congresswoman from Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, a Muslim woman, a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and of course, he doesn't care if she gets death threats. We'll unpack all of that. Now, Trump's attempts to discredit the courts in America is a typical move by a dictator. A black federal judge provides a powerful rebuke. Trust me, you want to hear what this brother had to say. Students at Georgetown University voted late last week to pay into a fund for descendants of slaves sold to shore up the university's finances in the 19th century. We'll talk to one of those descendants. And a black sixth grader body slammed to the ground by a school cop in Florida. Authorities say it was appropriate behavior, yet when you see the video, you probably will say, hell to the no. And Fox News' Laura Ingraham makes fun of the memorial for the late rapper Nipsey Hussle, then criticizes a video she thinks he's made. She was lying. And could urban violence against African Americans cause PTSD in our community? The psychologist says yes, and is here to tell us why. And of course, Tiger Woods won his 15th major golf championship yesterday, the first time in more than a decade, setting records all across television. I'll break it down for you, folks. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now.
folks, Donald Trump and his allies are attacking a black woman who's also Muslim, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. The attacks are supposedly about her not giving proper weight to the 9/11 attacks, but they really come from the same place as Trump's statements on Mexican rapists, the Muslim ban of five people on both sides. This is real simple. This is all a plan by Donald Trump to get white folks hyped and angry at people of color. They are not happy with demographic changes in America. This is all about white fear. And if Trump's tweets increase death threats to Omar, that's simply collateral damage, and he does not care. Because in 2020, he plans on running the same campaign he ran in 2016. All about fear. What Donald Trump and the GOP are doing, they are simply trying to trash any person of color in order to stoke their largely white base. Constant attacks on Congresswoman Maxine Waters. In fact, she has caused 4 white supremacists to go to jail for death threats against her. Constant attacks against New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Constant attacks against Ilhan Omar. What he wants the Democratic Party to also trash them. Some Democrats have been doing that, denouncing Omar. Others also denounce Trump. It plays right into his hands where he wants Democrats challenging one another and firing one another. A number of Democratic presidential candidates have come out in support of Omar, and many people say his actions are shameful. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, she also said that she is looking at security procedures to ensure that Ilhan Omar, has the proper protection. She has, of course, condemned this as well. And so Donald Trump sent a video out, again, trying to link her to 9/11. I'm going to play it for a reason, because this is not about amplifying what Donald Trump did. What this is about is getting you to understand what is at play here. And what we have that's at play is a man who will do, let me be clear, a man who will do anything and say anything in order to win. You need to understand what he is doing. The New York Post, their front page story on Omar. What did they do? They also, of course, tried to somehow suggest that she was trivializing 9/11. Then you have Congressman Dianne Crenshaw, a veteran, who went along attacking her as well, even though she sits on the commission trying to ensure that those who were impacted health-wise by 9/11 get paid. Guess who doesn't sit on that? Dan Crenshaw. And so what you have here is by design, a Republican president, by Donald Trump, backed by his own party. 89% of Republicans support Donald Trump for president. And you hear him attacking her. So this is the video. And I want you to see it because you need to understand what people of conscience are up against in 2020. We are up against a man and a party that will do anything, say anything in order to remain in power. Steve Bannon has already said that if Donald Trump wins another 4 years, he will be unleashed because there will be no repercussions for him not to do whatever he wants to do. This is what Donald Trump sent out 3 days ago on his Twitter feed.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
So you have no idea right now?
There's another one. Another plane just hit.
Some people did something.
Oh my goodness, there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon.
Some people did something.
It just flew straight into it.
was founded.
94,000 retweets, 256,000 likes. Let's go to my panel. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, leadership strategist, who joins us. Linda McAllister, political analyst, former GOP congressional candidate, and also Malik Abdul, vice president, Black Conservative Federation. First, I'll start with you, Liddy, and that is, here's a man who first, on 9/11, mentioned how his building now will be the tallest building in New York as a result of the World Trade Center towers coming down. A man who said that he helped when it came to the rubble in New York, lie. A man who said he saw Muslims celebrating across the Hudson in New Jersey, lie. A man who said he donated $10,000 to the Fund for Survivors, lie. A man who said he knew a number of people who died that day in New York City, lie. So for him to attack Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, when he himself has lied repeatedly about 9/11, shows what kind of man Donald Trump is, Lenny.
Well, we're talking about it in the wrong ways. He's a politician. And we have seen for years that politicians will use whatever they choose to use in order to make sure that they can win. I mean, I just had a history lesson just last week with people in regards to the 1990 Jesse Helms ad against Harvey Gantt and the use of the word quota. This is the same type of thing. It's more aghast in regards to the fact that we're talking about 9/11 and we're spinning words there. But it's the same playbook, and we've seen it in American politics for decades, if not for centuries now. The problem is what you're finding more and more often is people are willing to be violent. People are willing to try to plan to take other people's lives. And as I said, when we approach 2016, we're moving into the 1960s all over again, just with more guns and a smaller world due to social media. And this just seems to be an example of it, unfortunately.
Avis Jones-DeWeaver, again, when you look at what Donald Trump is doing, he ran on fear in 2016. He's running on fear in 2020. He wants to send the signal to white folks, look, demographics are changing. I'm your last great white hope.
Absolutely. I mean, in my eyes, this is more than just regular political speak. On the one hand, as you mentioned, it's absolutely playing into white fear. It's propaganda, I would say. This is more than regular politics. This is propaganda. That's the type of commercial you would expect to see in authoritarian societies, okay? And in addition to that, I just find it very interesting that here is a president whose wife has some Be Best initiative around anti-cyberbullying, and he is engaging in tactics that we know are radicalizing white supremacists, not only as it relates to this specific incident and the threats that have happened in relation to that, but we know what happened with the individual who sent bombs to various different media outlets, as well as elected officials, current elected officials, and former elected officials. We know about the radicalization of the individual who went into the newsroom in Baltimore and murdered journalists. We know about other instances of individuals who have been radicalized by the statements from this person who is occupying 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And he knows it too. That's the thing that I think people really need to understand. He's not an idiot, even though he plays one on TV. He understands what he is doing. The point is he does not care about the implications. So he is willing to risk lives and actually see people die in order to stay in power. And that is something we need to face, no matter how ugly it is to admit it. That is the harsh truth.
Malik?
The idea that a politician should use some sort of tragedy.
Okay, Malik, hold on one second. We have some issues with your audio. Now try again. Let's see if we got it figured out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the idea that a politician is using some sort of tragedy for a political gain, that's nothing new. You just listed off of a number of those things that Donald Trump said about 9/11, and he's been roundly criticized for that. Congresswoman Omar, she's made comments that people have found offensive. What has happened is that, well, people have said that, well, we're trying to interpret what she meant. And as I said on the show several times, you know, she may have not meant it the way that those things have come across. But the reality is that what she said was that some people did things, and some people did more. It was more than some people just doing things. Terrorists. People came to our country. They were in our country. They terrorized our country on that day. So it wasn't that some people just did things. Some people did a lot of bad things. And I think that is where the missing link is. But the idea that Donald Trump somehow is playing to some sort of fear that's different than any other political fear, whether it's John Lewis talking about John McCain or Mitt Romney, it's the same sort of fear. So I don't see. You know, I saw the ad and I was like, how about that?
Here's the deal, Malik. Here's the deal, Malik. If we want to be serious about this, and he wants to attack Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, look at the praise Donald Trump has constantly given to Saudi Arabia. And where did most of the terrorists come from? Saudi Arabia. When you look at Khashoggi, how they killed a journalist in the United States, Donald Trump praises them. The bottom line is he should be roundly condemned for it because he's also simply a hypocrite.
Well, sure, you can say that you're right. He has been roundly condemned, but you can say that he's being a hypocrite. But I don't think that him being a hypocrite is any different than any other politician, whether it's the former attorney general.
I'm not discussing another politician. I'm discussing Donald Trump. I'm discussing the man sitting in the Oval Office who has no sense of decency, a man who doesn't care if somebody else receives death threats, a man who simply will lie with impunity. That's who I'm discussing.
Yeah, and that happens all the time. We have politicians making those same comments about Donald Trump now, whereas they're not calling for any death threats, and Donald Trump isn't either. But there are politicians now that are calling for, whether it's Maxine Waters, whether it's Cory Booker, those people who are in my view, inciting violence in the same way that many believe that Donald Trump.
No, how is Senator Cory Booker inciting violence? What's your evidence?
He the one that said you had to get up in their faces? He wasn't the one who said that?
No. You said he did. What's your facts? Back it up. You said Senator Cory Booker and Congresswoman Maxine Waters inciting violence. Where are the facts?
Well, I think we talked about it on your show. So you're saying that they didn't make those comments?
No. I'm asking you. Where's the proof? No. You're asking me to confirm something you said. Where's your proof? What did they say?
Well, I don't have it right here. I can pull it up on my phone.
Pull it. Okay, fine. No. Pull your phone up. I'm gonna go to Lenny. Lenny, your thoughts.
Well, the bottom line is Donald Trump, ever since 2015, had no problem telling people, "Hey, if you just knock this guy out at my rally, I'll pay for your legal fees." You know, in my day, we would carry them out on a stretcher. This is something that's been part of his rhetoric, the bad boy, tough guy rhetoric, since he came down that escalator in 2015. This is nothing new. The difference is that as president of the United States, it puts a certain type of political blessing upon it that does oftentimes have the influence of making people go from rhetoric to action. That's what we have to be mindful of. And I think that when we look at how to deal with this, we're going to have to make sure that we have leaders that are going to look at political solutions on both sides of the aisle. You're going to have to see more Republicans take a step back and say, even if the president is going to say something that we would disagree with from a rhetorical standpoint that's out there in the public sphere, we have to come back and say something that's going to make sense and redirect people with conservative principles, with Republican principles that are going to allow people to not only have a direction, but I would dare say from a political standpoint, start reestablishing some trust in the Republican brand again, because as we well know, the Republican brand has taken a hit with the middle and the left over the years that Donald Trump has been on the scene.
Avis, before I go back to Malik, hopefully he's found his proof. Avis, the bottom line is Republican brand is irrelevant. They care about power. They will support Donald Trump until the end.
Absolutely. They don't give a damn about the brand. They've shown that by their actions and by their inactions related to this person. That's reality. Now, I think it's very important that we talk about his particular behavior in the broader context of the history of this nation and the contemporary reality of this nation. The fact of the matter is there has never been a left-wing terrorist machine like there has been throughout the history of this nation. We have always had right-wing racist terrorists in this country that has largely targeted Black people. And it has expanded over the years, and other people, but primarily Black people. And we know now that ever since this person started running for office, I mean, this begins even during the campaign, we saw the statistics shows that there has been an increase in membership in right-wing racist, and I would argue terrorist organizations. We also know in the past 2 years since he's been in office, there has been a spike in right-wing terrorist violence in America. So you know, it's interesting to me how people are trying to make this argument that this is just another way that politicians on both sides rally their base. It is not the same. This is like the ultimate false equivalency. You know, what do we have in this nation that is similar to Nazi organizations or the KKK in terms of constantly perpetrating violence against individuals of color? We just had churches burning down in Louisiana. We just had people shot and killed in synagogues. We are having this type of activity all the time. And what do we have in common? We have it happening under an auspices where you have a president of the United States spewing racist, hateful rhetoric that is emboldening these racists, and in his name they are committing these acts. So, you know, I would love to have some sort of theoretical argument about, oh, well, the left does it too. Bull, okay? The left does not do it like this because there is no equivalent to the right-wing terrorist machine that has been in this country for centuries and that still exists in this country today and that is being emboldened under this administration.
Malik, have you found that proof?
Well, I correct myself. It wasn't Cory Booker who actually said the comments about pushing it back. That was Maxine Waters.
And what did she say? No. What was the quote?
From Maxine Waters?
Yes.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out there and you create a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them that they're not welcome anymore.
Hold up. You said you tell them you're not welcome anymore. How is that inciting violence?
Well, so if Donald Trump had said that, it wouldn't be inciting violence.
No. Hold on. No, Malik. I want you to. Malik. Inciting violence said, go beat him up. Inciting violence said, punch him. Inciting violence said, I'll pay your legal fees if you knock him the hell out.
So you're
violence is a physical confrontation.
Okay.
No, Malik, I'm asking you. You are a Republican communications consultant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means you advise folks on how to communicate.
Right.
She said, tell them you're not welcome. Where does she say go beat them the hell up?
Well, you're referring to comments that Trump made, I believe, in 2015 or 2016. So if we're going to talk about things that he actually said, things that incited people to violence, we have to refer to 2016. So I'm
asking you again. Where's the comment where Congresswoman Maxine Waters said, "Gay, go knock them the hell out, and I'll pay your legal fees"? Did she ever say that?
As someone who's known people who have been attacked because they're Trump supporters, as someone
no. Nice deflection. I'm asking you again. Where is the Malik? Where's the statement? Malik, where's the statement? Where's the statement where Congresswoman Maxine Waters said, "Go beat him up"?
Well, that's how I interpret the statement.
I thought so.
Much like you interpret Trump's statement.
No. Actually, no, Malik, you're wrong. I don't interpret Trump statements.
Yes,
I read Trump. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lenny. I'm sorry, Lenny.
That's a convenient argument.
Let me go to the other Republican. Lenny, didn't you previously say about 3 minutes ago that Trump said at his own rallies, beat him up, we used to knock him the hell out, I'll pay your legal fees?
To the larger point, this is the problem that the Republican brand has, is we have this intellectual dishonesty going on. The bottom line is this presidential candidate moving into winning the election.
I'm not intellectually dishonest.
Well, you're either that or you completely are ignoring.
Hold on, one second. Lenny, go ahead. Then Malik respond.
I have an opinion.
Malik, let's just be honest. This is what Mr. Trump did say. And on top of that, you did see people attacked at his rally. Now, I understand why you may want to say that didn't happen. I get it. You know, when you wear the hat, you got to walk the rhetoric. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, this did happen, and it was said.
Hold on, Malik. Don't talk over. Lenny, finish your point. Malik, I'll go back to you. Lenny, go ahead.
The bottom line is Mr. Trump did say these things, and these things did happen at his rallies. In fact, one African-American man that attended a rally got basically elbowed by an older white man, and I do believe it was in North Carolina where this happened, soon after the "I'll pay your legal fees" statement was made. So these things did transpire. There's been a lot of skirting the line and then acting as though these things weren't said afterwards. This is what's unfortunate. Now, we as conservatives, Malik, and I would ask you in essence that you would at least be honest with this, remember this, and then help walk this back so that we can make a better country. I understand the allure of the hat, but at some point in time, what's underneath the brim of your hat needs to mean more, and what's supposed to be in your breast is supposed to mean more for the country than what you're wearing on your head right now.
Malik, your response before I go to my next topic.
Well, first of all, Lenny, we've never had a conversation, so you don't need to have on the show telling me about intellectual dishonesty. I've criticized Trump's comments
generally as Republicans, not specifically you.
I criticized. Well, okay, well, now it's my time to talk. So I criticized Trump for those comments in 2016, 2017, 2018, and I can criticize them now. I can walk in true garments at the very same time. So I don't need you to tell me or make any comments about what you think is under my head. You don't get to make that decision for me. I've criticized Trump. I need you to go back and look at the previous shows that I've been on and rolling where they've actually made those type of comments. So you can have an opinion about what you think about me, but the facts are on my side. You don't know me. You haven't had a conversation with me.
I'm listening to you, child of God. I'm listening to you.
On the show, you need to actually go and check the facts and stop making assumptions based on things that you think. You don't know anything about me to make those type of comments.
Well, here's what we do know. What we do know is Donald Trump is doing his best to change the federal court system. He is constantly attacking the federal judiciary. And he was taken to task by federal district court judge Carlton Reeves, who was appointed by President Barack Obama 9 years ago to the Southern District of Mississippi. Now, Carlton issued decisions protecting the rights of women and minorities. He was awarded the Thomas Jefferson Foundation Medal in Law. In his speech, he defended the judiciary against Trump and the Republican majority in the U.S. Senate. Here is a portion of his fiery speech.
When politicians attack the courts, it's dangerous, political, and guilty of egregious overreach. You can hear the Klan's lawyers assailing officers of the court across the South. When leaders chastise people for merely using the courts, you can hear the Citizen Council hammering up those names of those black petitioners there in Yazoo City. When the powerful accuse the courts of opening up our country to potential terrorists, you can hear the Southern Manifesto's authors smearing the judiciary for simply upholding the rights of black folk. When lawmakers say we should get rid of our judges, you can hear segregationist senators writing bills to strip our courts of their power. And when the executive branch calls our courts and their work stupid, horrible, ridiculous, incompetent, a laughingstock, and a complete and total disgrace, you can hear the slurs and threats of executives like George Wallace echoing into the present. I know what I heard when federal judge was called very biased and unfair because he is of Mexican heritage. When that judge's ethnicity was said to prevent his issuing fair rulings. When that judge was called a hater simply because he is Latino. I heard the words of James Eastland, a race-baiting politician empowered by the falsehood of white supremacy, questioning the judicial temperament of a man solely because of the color of his skin. I heard those words, and I did not know if I was in 1967 or 2017. This false seed is being sown across this country, from Mississippi to Virginia. I know because I'm here. The proof is in my mailbox, in countless letters of hatred. I've been called a piece of garbage, an arrogant, pompous piece of, and you fill in the rest. This may not be appropriate for children. A disgrace, an asshole who will burn in hell, and the embodiment of Satan himself. One person has even told me that he has prayed that God will give me complete discomfort. The deliverers of hate who send these messages aim to bully and scare judges who look like me from the judiciary. And so they share an aim with those who use whips and ropes and trees against my ancestors, scrubbing the black experience from our nation's courts. This administration and a bare majority of the Senate walking arm in arm and not stumbling unaware towards a homogeneous judiciary. Think of the slurs against Judge Curiel. Think of the nominations to the bench of those who call diversity code for relaxed standards, who call transgender children part of Satan's plan, who defend the KKK in online message boards, who led voting suppression efforts for segregationists like Jesse Helms. Think of the pattern of judicial nominees refusing to admit, like every generation of nominees before them, that Brown versus Board was correctly decided. That same Brown which led to Alexander versus Holmes, which breathed justice into my segregated streets there in Yazoo City, as if equality was a mere political position. Friends, students, let it be said that equal protection of the law is not a political position. It is enshrined in our Constitution.
Oh, fever in the funk house, Avis.
All I can say is amen, amen, and amen. I mean, I think it's very important that we realize the reality of the moment that we are in. And, he very eloquently laid out the struggle that we are facing right now in terms of what has been unleashed on this country. This administration and this specific person has tapped into an ugly, racist underbelly that never left, but at least for a period of time felt some level of social disdain, and therefore was a little bit more undercover in their abilities and maybe hampered their activities. But you become emboldened when you have a president of the United States who calls Nazis and KKK members very fine people, right? You become boldened when individuals who are white commit terrorist acts and they're never, ever even mentioned in a tweet. I mean, it's never even acknowledged by the president. But you have that very same person calling black football players who merely want our law enforcement to not kill unarmed people, to have that person call them sons of bitches. This creates a reality where those hateful forces are unleashed.
All right, Lenny.
Well, I think one of the things we have to look at, too, as the judge said towards the end of his remarks, is going back to the Constitution and having that level playing field where adjudication from the bench is not politicized. Every single president tries to put their stamp on the courts, and that's what you're seeing with this president. Now, if you have more extreme views, you're going to see more extreme nominees. If you have control of the Senate, they're going to be nominated, and then they're going to be confirmed. What we have to start finding is more judges that go back to what the judge said. The premise of what we should be doing is equality for all in accordance to our Constitution, which means that when it comes to voter suppression opportunities, they should not be taken upon. Why? Because our Constitution says if you're a citizen and you meet the age requirements and the residency requirements, that you have the right to vote. There is no such thing as playing fuzzy with that. Just the same when it comes to other matters, it should go back to constitutionality. I think that when you start looking at the politicization of the courts, you start losing that. I think we've still lost that previously. Now you're seeing it on the other side. And unfortunately, it's pulling the country further apart. There's a way to get back to it. And I think the judge hit on that, not just from the rhetoric that we're hearing, around the country, but also to what the courts need to be and how we should be looking to adjudicate these issues moving forward.
All right, Malik.
Yeah, the judge's comments, not very much about it surprised me. I've lived through the time where, whether it's comments that were made about Scalia, comments that are even now made about.
But that's a homeboy from your state, Mississippi.
What does that mean? The fact that he's from Mississippi, I disagree with people. I disagree with my own family and friends from Mississippi, so this is nothing new to me. But my point here is that the idea that a judge or anyone would criticize someone in the judiciary, or even the president for that matter, it doesn't surprise me. And, this is the position that the Republican Party is in, because for years, well before I came to the party, the Republican Party was the Tea Party. So, that things that are said now, these are the same people. I don't think that Donald Trump actually created new people or found new people. These are the same people that have been Republicans all along, and we can rightly criticize them.
No, that's not true.
Malik,
that's not true.
Lenny, about 30 seconds go, Lenny.
30 seconds. Number one, the Tea Party people Malik, please. The Tea Party people that first got on board were people that actually knew fiscal policy. Those were Ron Paul people. Then the Tea Party got hijacked by people that were opportunists that started taking it to the far right, and you started getting more and more what you've had starting in 2012 and now going into 2016. Two completely different groups. Wait a minute. You said you weren't here very long. You barely remember the Republican Party, let alone the Tea Party, but you're going to tell me about history when I was there doing the rallies. Please just listen for a second. Two different groups.
With guns?
And you weren't there
at Obama rallies with guns?
You weren't there.
Who were they?
Pardon me?
Who were the people who showed up at Trump rallies, at Obama rallies with guns, expressing their Second Amendment rights? Who were they?
Those people were not Tea Party people. Those people were reactionary people that were upset on the night of the election in 2008. Now, I know you probably were still in high school when that happened, but I was about Andrew Media at the time. That was right at the election. It was in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the campus of North Carolina.
Hold on, both of you can't talk. Lenny, go ahead.
These were other places where this happened in 2008, where they went around saying, well, I know he got elected there, but we have to let him know who's boss. That's what the rhetoric was in November 2008, December 2008, going into the inauguration in January 2009.
Hold on, Malik, just real quick. When did you join the Republican Party?
In 2016.
Lenny, how long have you been a Republican?
I've been a Republican since 2004. Been doing this live and nationally for over 10 years.
Okay,
that's all I got.
That same party showed up.
All right, I'm just checking.
That same party showed up with those guns at the same rallies. This is not after Obama was elected. This was when he was campaigning. And I know because I supported him during that time, and I had a real problem with the fact that the members of the Republican Party decided to express their Second Amendment rights by showing up at Obama's rallies.
I got you, but I got it, Malik. I got it, but it's a whole bunch of new people who loving Trump. Y'all got to go to my next story, which explains why the courts and the judges absolutely matter. A federal district judge in New York ruled that a Trump administration plan was motivated by, quote, a discriminatory purpose of removing non-white immigrants to the country. This is all part of Donald Trump's pattern of keeping America white. In the backstory, the Trump administration wants to end something called temporary protected status, or TPS, for certain immigrants. Basically, when refugees come to the U.S. to get away from war or a natural disaster, they are temporarily protected from deportation. For Haitians, the year was 2010. The event was the earthquake in Haiti that killed hundreds of thousands of people. The Trump administration wanted to send 50,000 Haitians back. Because of an earlier court ruling, the administration moved the termination of protected status to 2020. But late last week, U.S. District Judge William F. Kuntz in New York, he ruled that the Trump administration plan had, quote, reverse engineered the TPS review process to achieve the desired political outcome, the termination of Haiti's TPS. I keep telling y'all, this is about white fear of a changing America. Speaking of Trump and the issue of racism, the Trump administration refused to appoint someone to the UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Now, there was an American on the panel, Gay McDougal. She was expected to be renominated. She had originally been nominated by President Obama. She had criticized Trump. So at the last minute, the White House killed her nomination, and they failed to nominate anyone to replace her. So now the United States will not have a representative on the UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. What a shock. What a shock. All right, folks, let's talk reparations. Students at Georgetown University here in D.C. overwhelmingly approved a plan to have every student pay a little more than $50 a year for the reparations to the nearly 4,000 descendants of 272 African slaves that Georgetown sold in 1838 to boost the university's finances. The referendum is not binding on the university, and so far, we do not know that Georgetown's administrators will agree to collect and disperse the money. Joining us now is one of the descendants of those 272 slaves, Sherilyn Branch, who is also the vice president of the GU 272 Descendants Association. So, Sherilyn, what do you make of these students, their decision?
Well, obviously, this was a student referendum and has nothing to do with our organization per se, but I am thankful that students chose to do what students have always done, and it is abide by the truth on college campuses from the 1900s. And so we can clearly see that they've made a decision to provide $27.20, close to the $2.72 for the number of descendants. And I think it's important for us to understand and recognize that they had a right to vote and to have that referendum, irrespective of what the university might feel. This was a student-led referendum.
And obviously, with this very issue, the reality is the selling of those slaves is what kept Georgetown University alive. And of course, the decision was made to say that any descendants would be allowed to be able to attend Georgetown, I believe, for free. What more should be done?
Well, certainly the free part is not necessarily true. They are to be treated, if a student is able to get into Georgetown, they're to be treated the same as a relative of a person or a person who has already gone to Georgetown in their family. So it's a very different understanding from just being free.
All right. So what are you asking for more? What else do you want to be done? Any other things that you're asking for?
Well, of course, certainly we want the university to tell the truth. We want the university to atone for what it did to our ancestors. And it's not just Georgetown, obviously. There are many other universities who have had the same kind of slave past in order to build the university or to keep the university open. And in Georgetown's case, that money, $115,000 at the time, is what kept the university open. So we believe that because slaves built Georgetown University, it owes its past, its present, and its future to the lives of slaves who helped build the university and help keep it afloat.
All right, Sherilyn, we certainly appreciate you, what you're doing, joining us on the show, and then we hope you can get all you want.
Well, thank you. It's not just about us. It's about the story and the truth and racial healing and reconciliation regarding the slave past of these United States.
All right.
So
we appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, something that's born out of slavery, that is police departments. And a police resource officer in a middle school in St. Lucie County, Florida, was caught on tape slamming an 11-year-old sixth grader to the ground, a body slam. Now, school officials said the child was disruptive and violent and previously had been caught with a knife. Now, if you give the officer the benefit of the doubt and take all the victim shaming at face value, the question is, was this justified? Press play. Now, folks, do you see that video? So here's the question. Was it necessary to literally grab him from behind and body slam, lift him up in the air, and perform essentially a wrestling move? The student is now facing charges of assault and disorderly conduct. He was taken to the hospital and left with a Band-Aid. He is getting a mental health evaluation. The officer is still on duty, and the chief actually said, police chief there said, the use of force was justified. Avis, really?
make me extremely angry. It is no justification for this. This was an 11-year-old child who was attacked from behind and assaulted with a body slam onto concrete. And if you ask me, the person that needs a mental health examination is the law enforcement officer and the chief of police, who both apparently think that this type of behavior is okay. We know the studies that show that whites tend to overinflate the age of Black children, that they don't see Black children as children. But listen, they just need to see Black children as human beings in order to see that this is wrong. And the fact that this type of behavior not only occurs, but then is justified by those in authority over that police officer is not acceptable. It's my hope that the community around this incident rises up to say, we are not going to just sit here and allow them to attack our children like this. This cannot go unpunished.
Malik, you see that video? I mean, first of all, the young man at some point started to run away. Look, if you watch, the officer could have simply grabbed him and taken him to the ground, but to literally pick him up, lift over your head, and then body slam him to the ground, that is nonsensical.
Whether it's this event or any other events like it, she asks, we don't know what happened beforehand here, but it's totally unacceptable. I see no rationale for why someone as big as that police officer would need to, whether the child is white, Black, Asian, Hispanic, or whatever, I see no rationale for why a police officer would have to respond to anyone like that.
You mentioned white, Black, or whatever, but Lenny, the reality is we don't see videos like this of white kids getting picked up and body slammed. But we sure as hell will see it with Black kids.
Well, I mean, it takes you back to the classroom with the African-American young lady that had the security guard
South Carolina.
Exactly. Go after her in the classroom. And it goes back to Avis's point. They overinflate our age, number one. Number two, you always have the rhetoric of it was justified. You know, what people forget is there's one individual in the scenario that doesn't have a fully formed brain yet and won't until the age of 25. And the other person is a paid professional with specialized training to deal with a situation in a classroom, to deal with people that are going to act inappropriately with brains that are not going to be fully deformed until they're 25 years old. And when you see these type of videos and you say, well, you know, the use of force, which is a very sketchy term, the use of force, Roland, could have been tackling the kid to the ground.
Yeah.
The use of force could have been grabbing the kid and restraining his arms to make sure he can't grab a weapon. So, yes, the use of force may have been justified, but that on video was not justified. And that's where people need to call folks out on this and say, look, we always say the use of force is justified, thinking that we have to go from 0 to 100, and then thus the use of force against us, often in a deadly fashion, ends up being justified, ends up not being prosecuted, and ends up continuing going on in America. That's where we have to start pulling everything out and saying enough is enough is enough.
All right, folks, let's talk about this Fox News. Laura Ingraham was joking about the death of Nipsey Hussle. Yeah, it actually happened. She ran and criticized a video of a Nipsey Hussle rap. She did, of course, criticize Minister Louis Farrakhan for confusing Nipsey Hussle with comedian Nipsey Russell. Well, guess what, y'all? People in glass houses should not be throwing rocks. Press play.
All right, yesterday in L.A., thousands lined the streets to say goodbye to rapper Nipsey Hussle. Now, this dear artist recently released a song called FDT. F Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump.
Okay, now that's a very creative refrain.
Very catchy.
Very catchy.
Irving Berlin, look out.
Is it? It all began and ended with Irving Berlin for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
So the refrain, the chorus, it goes on and on. Is that related to the lowest unemployment ever, basically, for African Americans?
But at Hussle's funeral, Laura, the less than holy religious figure, Louis Farrakhan, rose to offer a reflection. Now,
nice.
It's always a good idea, before you give a eulogy, to know the name of the deceased. That helps, which in this case was Nipsey Hussle.
The spiritual life of Nipsey Hussle. I thank Nipsey Hussle. I said it right. Russell.
Now, for those who might not remember, this is 70s comedian Nipsey Hussle.
I loved him.
The young people are very different today, and there's one sure way to know.
Yeah, we got to wrap.
Kids used to ask where they came from. Now they'll tell you where you can go.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Was that a match game?
It was match
My
game.
grandmother loved that.
Brett
Match
Summers,
game.
come on down.
Wasn't he on Hollywood Squares and on The Love Boat?
I have to say, after that, I love Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle, may he rest in peace.
God bless.
Hey, Laura and the no-name white dude next to you. The problem with y'all, that video was not Nipsey Hussle. It was Compton rapper YG. Now, Nipsey Hussle was featured on it, but he wasn't even shown in the clip. Hey, Laura, next time, can you learn to Google? And also, there's a thing called song lyrics. It'll show you actually the name of the artist. So you might want to check that out. So again, to say that the video was Nipsey, well, you're actually wrong, but there's no shock there. There were thousands of people who turned out for Nipsey Hussle's funeral. Took place on Thursday at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. People are still reeling from his death. Rapper Myson held an event on Sunday dealing with the whole issue of black men losing their lives to violence. So the question then becomes, how do we deal with this? The death of Nipsey Hussle happens all across this nation where African Americans are shot and killed. You have kids who are going to school every single day who are dealing with the reality of violence in our community. Significant exposure to a level of violence that we frankly have not seen before. Does that mean that we are experiencing trauma, PTSD? And how do we deal with that, and how do we move forward? Well, clinical psychologist Dr. Nicole Alford joins us right now. Doc, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing great. So many people, of course, have been just outpouring. Folks going by his store. They've been offering, of course, placing flowers and candles and things along those lines. And you see other artists and others, grown men who are crying as well. So how do we confront this and deal with it when we have people who, frankly, see this literally every day of their lives?
Yeah, so I think we do what we're doing at this point in time, which is to grieve collectively. I think that's the first step that we have to do. I think secondly, we have dialogues like we're having now. We open up the dialogue. And I think, frankly, we have to start understanding and being able to admit when we're not okay. And so when we have people like Chance the Rapper, and we have people like Taraji Henson, and we have people like Jennifer Lewis who come out with their stories of grief and trauma and depression and suicidality, that allows us to open up the conversation and to have a dialogue.
But what about when you don't have a funeral at Staples Center? What about that nameless, faceless young brother or sister who is shot and killed, who is a student, and then you have kids who we expect to somehow go to school the next day and still learn and act as if essentially nothing ever happened. Yeah. I mean, look, others can take time off to grieve. If you're a student, you can't do that. And then in some places, they're dealing with multiple shootings, multiple deaths in a school year.
So I think one of the, if there is any positive that can come from this again, it's the opening of the dialogue. I think the one thing that the 2016 election taught all of us is that our vote is our voice, and our voice matters, and it counts. And so I think we mobilize as a community. I think that there not only is strength in numbers, but I think certainly when you are dealing with emotional issues and psychological trauma, grief, depression, one of the ways to help come out of that is to get out of yourself and to mobilize and to take some type of action, a positive action. And so we begin to mobilize as a community. We have these dialogues, right? And we begin to plan. I think that's how we start.
Also, when we talk about this level of trauma, we also have to confront, I fundamentally believe, with what does happen to black men. The stories that we hear that the brother who allegedly shot and killed him, caught on videotape, felt that Nipsey was disrespecting him. I was talking to a rapper last week, and he said, look, it's 3 things you don't say to a brother in the hood. You don't call him gay, you don't say he's a snitch, and you also don't question his manhood. He said that will set a guy off who can go from peace to wanting to kill you.
Right.
That speaks to, again, this something totally different that we have to confront, because killing somebody should not be the end result of a disagreement.
So, absolutely, you're right. So here's the thing. I think that when you are traumatized, I think when there is no safety, not outside of your community, and certainly not within your community, I think when you live in a war zone, you become angry, you become aggressive, you become hyper aroused and hyper vigilant, and there is no channel for those emotions. There is no outlet for that. And so again, I think as a community, we have to start having conversations, right? So we need to start having conversations about why there's so much violence in our community. That's a conversation that I believe we need to start having, right? We can't excuse that. That wasn't police on black violence. That was black on black violence. And so this type of a conversation absolutely will open up that dialogue. It will allow us to have that dialogue in a safer space, whereas maybe pre his death, we wouldn't be able to have it. We wouldn't be able to hear it.
All right, real quick, where can people get some online resources to deal with this whole issue of trauma and PTSD?
So people can, of course, go to my website at www.thegooddrnick.com. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI.org, has a wealth of resources, and so any one of those they can find resources.
All right, Dr. Alford, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, some breaking news here. Here we go to my iPad. Dr. William Barber just tweeted this. Breaking news, we won and God prevailed in Wake County District Court today. Judge overruled prohibition against entering the North Carolina General Assembly building. This overturns a 2-year restriction. Reverend Barber also tweeted the state is on record saying that one reason they didn't want me to come back was concern that I might attend May 1st teacher event and cause more people to attend. This is profiling, and it was overruled today. No shock. Republicans in North Carolina, they don't want Reverend Barber and others. They are protesting their shameful and illegal actions there in North Carolina. So Reverend Barber, way to go, beating them in court. Got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk Tiger Woods and Jackie Robinson on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A life is not more important than others, except in the impact it has on other lives. American professional baseball player Jackie Robinson.
All right, folks, our school today is Talladega College. Talladega.edu is the website. Notable graduates include Nikki Finney, Arthur Shores, Margaret Bush Wilson, Winona Lipman, and more. If you want to support Talladega College, go to Talladega.edu, Talladega.edu. And, of course, they were founded in 1867. So we certainly appreciate your support of them, our HBCU Giving Day University. All right, folks, calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders. Enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement the proposal. The deadline to apply has been extended to April 15th. That is today. So go to fgb.life for more information to apply. I'll say go to this website today. Don't wait. Tomorrow it's too late. So go to fgb.life for more info and to apply. And remember, Ford goes further in our community. All right, folks, yesterday, huge win for Tiger Woods, winning his 15th major golf championship. Amazing feat yesterday. Had not won in a very, very long time. He got his first win last year on the PGA Tour in several years, but winning his first major in more than a decade. Wow, a huge deal there. And I want to go to my panel real quick here. Lenny, I'll start with you. It's amazing. You got all the people on social media. Oh my goodness, you know, Tiger not black. He cheated on his wife. He played golf with Trump. But the reality is, people, whether you like him or not, or his personal life, he's still one of the greatest golfers in history, and people love a great story.
I say this as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. We go through the same thing with Tom Brady. You can say whatever you want about Tom Brady, but he's the greatest of all time at the quarterback position. Tiger Woods is that in golf. And to see somebody come back after so long, not winning, going through all the personal tragedies, and to come back and win and come from behind on the final day of the Masters. It's just another one of those stories that you tell your kids about and say, this is what perseverance is all about.
Avis, people say Tiger Woods doesn't call himself black. Actually, he said, I'm black, but I'm also Thai. It's about combination. So it's not like he walked around and said, I'm not black. I'm like Mike Tirico of ESPN, who said, well, you know, I don't really know what my background is, and I don't really need to check. Look in the damn mirror, Mike. But again, I don't have hate for Tiger. I was one of the folks who thought he was going to eventually come back, one of the few people who actually believed it. But again, to me, I just think we get so caught up in this whole idea of Tiger doesn't claim us. Yo, it's a whole bunch of black people who call themselves black who don't claim black people.
Well, you know, yeah. Tiger calls himself Kaplan Asian. You know, he has the right to call himself whatever he wants to call himself. But I will say that, you know, for me, he has really been what is exciting about golf in recent years. I know that, you know, there are tons of people who never really paid any attention to golf until he first walked onto the scene many years ago. And so it's interesting. It's good. You know, I'm glad to see that he has finally overcome all the demons that he's been facing over the past years as an athlete. It's just good to see this athlete not give up and to come back to the top where he belongs.
Malik, real quick.
People have been saying this about Tiger for years now, so it's not surprising that they're saying it now. I'm extremely happy for him. I'm glad that he's doing it. I'm one of those who started watching golf because of Tiger, just like I started watching the tennis because of Serena and Venus. So, hey, I'm here for the Wakanda magic any and every day, whether it's Kablasian, whatever magic or not. Proud of you, brother.
Can I say something very, very
real quick?
Tiger and the Williams sisters are two examples of the power of a black father putting a vision of greatness in their kids at a very early age.
Sustained. All right, so again, you know what the hell? I'm going to wear my red Nike shirt tomorrow in honor of Tiger. And I don't give a damn if you don't like it. Look, and also, let's be real clear, I ain't played golf because of Tiger. I played before Tiger, but I still enjoy watching him versus some of those other boring people. All right, y'all, the Pulitzer Prizes were announced this afternoon. The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal won prizes for reporting on Trump scandals. There are a ton of them. The Journal for revealing the porn star hush money payments and the Time for uncovering a decades-long tax evasion scheme by the Trump family. Malik, the staff of the Advocate newspaper in Louisiana, they won for reporting that ended the practice of not requiring unanimous jury verdicts in Louisiana, a practice meant to blunt the impact of one or two African Americans on a jury. Black winners include Brent Staples, an editorial writer for the New York Times for his work on racial justice. Darren Bale, the brother, won for editorial cartoons. He also writes and illustrates the comic strips Canterville and Rudy Park. Also, Jackie Sibley's jury for her play Fairview, which examines race and privilege in America. Aretha Franklin got a special citation for her indelible contribution to American music and culture for more than 5 decades. 2 books about African Americans also won, a biography of Frederick Douglass and also The New Negro, The Life of Alan Locke, who was hailed as the architect of the Harlem Renaissance. So look at that. Black folks winning golf tournaments, tennis tournaments, and winning a hell of a lot more Pulitzer Prizes. All right, folks, today is April 15th. A lot of y'all know that's tax day, but it's also Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. Today will wear the number 42. It is retired all across baseball. Only 2 people have had their numbers retired by an entire league. Number 99, Wayne Gretzky in the National Hockey League, and Jackie Robinson, number 42 in Major League Baseball. Now, here's what happens. Okay, first of all, you see me wearing the jersey. Oh, by the way, if you have a look, this is the back of my jersey. Y'all see number 42, no name. If you got a Jackie Robinson jersey with his name on it, wrong damn jersey. He never had his name on his jersey. Spike Lee said, get the real damn replica and don't get one with your name on it. And so you might be wondering why I got why I'm not wearing my Houston Astros 42. I appreciate the Astros sending me a number 42 jersey, but they put Martin on the back. I ain't wearing that. It's in the house, but I ain't wearing it. So I'm wearing the Jackie Robinson jersey. So here's the deal. Every year when we talk about Jackie Robinson on this day or any time else, folks always say, Jackie Robinson, first black Major League Baseball. Jackie, show what we can do. No. When we do that, we are denigrating the black ball players who were Major League ball players in the Negro Leagues. Now, Jackie Robinson was the first black player in the modern era. It's not as if black folks didn't have talent. Oh, we always had the talent to play in Major League Baseball, but it was the color of our skin that kept us out of Major League Baseball. What Major League Baseball meant wasn't that it was the professional of all professional leagues. What it meant was they had better stadiums, better travel, better pay, better field conditions, better lighting, better uniforms, because white folks control all the resources. Black folks were limited. Black folks were denied economic opportunities, denied the ability to actually use our talents. And so we as African Americans should always correct someone when they called it Major League Baseball. That was the name MLB. But whenever the Major League white baseball players played the Negro League players whooped their ass. Why? Because there was better talent on the Negro side than Major League white baseball. The reason that's important is because in our history, if we really want to be honest with ourselves, the job that white supremacy has done on black folks has been detrimental to our health. You just heard a doctor talk about trauma and PTSD. We have allowed white America to somehow say that when we cross over, it's better. It's the promised land. That's the real thing. If you worked for a black newspaper, that wasn't real. But if all of a sudden you went to the New York Times, now you made the big time. If you worked at a black cable network, oh, that's not real. Folks told me I didn't have a real show. But if you got a show on CNN or MSNBC, oh my goodness, you had a real TV show. Folks, that deals with us because that then causes us to somehow believe we need white validation in order for us to say we did something well. The reality is Jackie Robinson should have long been in Major League white baseball. So should have Satchel Paige. So should have Josh Gibson and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and so many others who had to go through the Negro Leagues because racist whites would not give them an opportunity to play the game they love. And so on this day, let it be the last time many of you ever call it Major League Baseball as if it was better than the Negro Leagues. It was not better than the Negro Leagues. I'll give you the last thing. In Texas, when you had integration, before integration, you had the UIL, University Interscholastic League. They govern all of sports. White schools in Texas. Black schools had what is called the PVIL, the Prairie View Interscholastic League. Here's what happened. When integration came along and they merged, they said, well, we're unsure of the record keeping of the PVIL. So the official records for Texas sports will be the UIL because we had more pristine records. So all of the athletic feats of these African Americans were washed away largely because of racism. And so my high school, Jack Yates, isn't given proper credit for the PVIL state championships they won. They only often talk about the UIL championships. Again, white validation. We can go down a line where we see this all across the country. And so if you have a son or daughter, if you have a niece or nephew, do never let them somehow believe that Jackie Robinson was not a major league ball player prior to Branch Rickey signing him with the New York Brooklyn Dodgers. It was the Brooklyn Dodgers before they actually moved out to Los Angeles. Always let them know that Jackie Robinson and every Negro League player were indeed major league ball players, but they couldn't play in Major League white baseball because of the color of their skin. I want to thank Avis, Lenny, and Malik for being on our panel today. I want to thank all of you for watching as well. Be sure to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give goes to support what we do. I also want you all to do this here. When I open this up, Henry, pull this up. So first of all, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to show your support. Also, real quick here, we have been nominated for our work with the folks at Be Woke Vote for Best Social Content Series and Campaigns, also Best Host. Here we go to the iPad. If y'all go to the Webby Awards, go to their website, you can vote. We got until April 18th. We're currently in first place. We need y'all to keep voting so we can win Best Social Content Series and Campaigns. We'll go to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We have the website on the website where to vote, as well as where to vote for me for Best Host as well. All right, folks, it's good to be back. Oh, I got some good stuff tomorrow because y'all know I got to give more hell, especially to some MAGA hat-wearing people, Malik. So, again, I'll holler at y'all later. And, again, shout out to Jackie Robinson and his wife, Rachel Robinson, who's still alive. And I talked to them. The Jackie Robinson Museum will be opening by December in New York. I can't wait to be there. I got to go. Jackie, thanks for all that you did. And other black ball players, holla! I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.